Estamos listos para empezar nuevamente. A todos, buenos días, quienes se están incorporando a la sesión de la última jornada del Foro Nacional de Turismo, foro dedicado al mundo maya en esta edición. Y en esta jornada hemos estado viendo también algunas alternativas para hacer crecer la diversificación de los destinos turísticos. Hasta hace unos 30 años, probablemente un poco menos, el concepto típico, tradicional de una vacación era de ver a la gente tumbada en la arena, tomando los rayos del sol, haciendo absolutamente nada y buscando alguna opción de entretenimiento, de actividad que pudiera complementar su visita, pero prácticamente el culto al ocio era la esencia de la vacación. Este concepto ha ido cambiando y transformándose en los últimos años, al grado de que ciudades enteras centran su oferta turística precisamente en el tipo de entretenimiento que ofrecen a los visitantes. Ciudades como Nueva York, como París, como Mónaco, no podrían pensarse turísticamente hablando si no tuvieran esa oferta tan variada y tan rica para ofrecer a sus visitantes. La presentación de esta mañana versa precisamente sobre una nueva forma de agregar ese componente de entretenimiento, diversión, para que los turistas puedan disfrutar de actividades alternas, diferentes, que combatan el no hacer nada, el ocio, y que por el contrario ofrezcan una actividad constante y permanente. Para ello se ha invitado, el Foro Nacional de Turismo ha invitado a 12 funcionarios de una empresa canadiense que está desarrollando este concepto con mucho éxito, que tiene ya un año de haberse incorporado a Latinoamérica y a nuestro país, con una propuesta que puede ser interesante para tomarse en cuenta y diversificar la oferta de algunos destinos turísticos que se prestan para ello. La empresa se llama Forec Ltd, es una empresa canadiense. Nos da mucho gusto recibir esta mañana al director general para Resorts, Eric O'Rourke, que va a estar con nosotros, es la presentación en inglés, y a Ricardo Stoning Edges, que va a ser la primera introducción. Él es el representante de esta empresa para Latinoamérica con sede en Brasil. Les damos una muy cordial bienvenida.
Bueno, muy buenos días a todos. Es un gusto tremendo para nosotros estar aquí, participar del foro. Me gustaría primeramente de agradecer por la invitación y por la oportunidad de participar de este debate, de esta discusión de altísimo nivel que hemos visto en los últimos días aquí. Hoy vamos a hablar de entretenimiento de calidad. Y nuestro objetivo es agregar ideas, agregar perspectivas para la discusión y realmente explicar cómo estas ideas, todas estas perspectivas pueden ser implementadas a través de proyectos de entretenimiento de calidad. Entonces, voy a empezar presentándoles un video breve y informativo y divertido sobre Forec. Bueno, solamente para que pueda introducir lo que es Forex y lo que hacemos. Básicamente somos una empresa de diseño y planificación canadiense enfocada exclusivamente en proyectos de entretenimiento y ocio. Pero aunque la oficina central de la empresa esté en Canadá, nuestra operación es global. Hemos desarrollado proyectos en todos los continentes, tenemos una operación en muchos países y exclusivamente para Latinoamérica y particularmente para el mercado mexicano, hemos empezado una operación más consistente, una estrategia más consistente en el último año, de hecho, y porque creemos realmente que este es un mercado muy prometedor en términos de nuevos productos turísticos, en términos de nuevos proyectos de entretenimiento. Entonces nuestra participación en el foro tiene este objetivo de realmente presentar lo que podemos hacer y agregar ideas y perspectivas para este debate, para que podamos convertir México en quizá un top 3, 5 en términos de destino turístico mundial, local e internacional, y para que podamos también mejorar la oferta turística del país. En términos de los clientes de Forex, como pueden ver, hemos trabajado con los grandes actores de esta industria mundial, como Universal, como Legoland, como Nickelodeon, Paramount, y hemos trabajado también con inversores, desarrolladores más pequeños que tenían un sueño de desarrollar algo nuevo, innovador en términos de entretenimiento y que al final han tenido un éxito espectacular. Entonces, básicamente como introducción, creo que así es. Me gustaría ceder la palabra ahora para Eric, mi colega, que es un experto en proyectos de resorts y entretenimiento, y que les va a comentar un poco más en detalle, profundizar esta discusión respecto a los proyectos de entretenimiento de calidad. Por favor, Eric.
As Ricardo said, thank you for having us. It's a great honor to be here with such distinguished guests, panels, speakers. Thank you to Oscar and the Foro Group. It's greatly appreciated. Today we're going to talk about entertainment. What is quality entertainment? What are the critical elements that entail a world-class destination? What makes a world-class destination, and how do we apply that to the region, Latin America, Mexico, and continue the growth and ascension to being a truly world-class, globally recognized place? So why is everyone so confident on Latin America and Mexico? There's a couple of key indicators that makes everyone very bullish and very confident that Mexico and Latin America is one of the next great tourism destinations. That being rising global tourism across the globe and the growth of the middle class in Mexico, which is the largest demographic in the world by far. And the middle class has the most spending power in per capita, per numbers, to contribute to leisure and entertainment destinations. Global tourism numbers in 2010, and we'll specifically look at Latin America, and the growth of about 50% up until 2020. So we're halfway there. In another 5 years, roughly 80 million global tourists are projected to visit Latin America. Likewise, the middle class that we touched on being such a significant contributor to the local resident market. Sometimes people lose sight that we're always trying to appeal to the international market and the international tourists. But if we look here, in 2010, the middle class of Latin America is roughly 180 million. In 5 more years, the middle class is comparable to the middle class in the United States. That's over 300 million people that can contribute to the growth of leisure and entertainment. So the international market is important, but it's equally important that you try to appeal to the locals, the residents. They will be an equal number of visitors, and they understand the local culture and the environment better. And what they want is generally good for the overall destination, and the international tourists will learn to appreciate it. So currently, what is Mexico and Latin America known for? It's not a big secret. Right now, the destination is sun, sea, and sand, and it's a great calling card to be known for today, here and now. The challenge and the question I raise is, how do we change that perception, and how do we announce to the world that Latin America and Mexico has more to offer than just sun, sea, and sand? It's a great starting point, but we need to take it to the next level, so to speak. The local tourists, the residents, they want something different. They appreciate the sun, sea, and sand. They have a better pulse on the market and on the culture, on the tourism, on the environment, on the intricacies of the culinary experiences, the tequila, the chocolate. All of those experiences added to what's already existing of sun, sea, and sand will equal a globally recognized tourism destination. It will fill out the menu. It will provide a full entertainment and tourism offering to provide the prospective visitor and guest with a full week's worth of things to do, not just a weekend. You want to provide options. You want to provide choice. Culture, food, tequila, eco-adventure. If we add all of these pieces, how do we then become world-class? What does it take? What does it involve? If we start here today, it's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. If you look globally, there's no place in the world that said, I want to be world-class today, and they were there tomorrow. It's going to take a vision, it's going to take a plan, and it's going to take some patience. Sumaya Museum, very recognizable, most visited museum in Mexico, 56th visited in the world, a successful cultural destination. Kidzania, another successful Mexican-developed entertainment piece. There's 16 Kidzanias around the world, 30 million people visit globally. It was innovated here. Another successful piece that already exists in the region. Coco Bongo. I know some people might not think of it as a great entertainment destination, but it's recognized in Canada and the US, and it's a good mix of entertainment, Las Vegas, Hollywood, and Mexico. People identify with it, and it offers a point of differentiation. Xcaret, a modern-day cultural tourism development and true destination in the Mayan Riviera. We were fortunate enough to hear about it earlier in the conference, and I've been lucky enough to visit it several times before. And it's very successful. It's a mix of culture, attractions, rides, and it has a true sense of Latin America. It's not imported from North America or Europe, when you're there, you feel like you're in Mexico. That's why people want to come. If they wanted to go to North America, they'll go to North America. The key is to bring through the culture, bring through what's unique to the region in your tourism offerings, in your entertainment offerings. Chichen Itza, it's not the only Mayan ruin, but obviously the most well-known, the most visited, over 1 million people a year. Tulum, Coba, Agua Azul, these natural wonders of the world need to be celebrated. And they need to be celebrated beyond just going to visit them in person. Your average person, adult, grandparents, they can go see 1 or 2. Children, no, not so much. They're not really interested in it. So how to bring that experience of the ruins and Mundo Mayo to other entertainment offerings and other places that you can experience it, not necessarily at the ruin site itself. So Mexico's already, and Latin America is already on the ascension to being world-class. We just ran through a series of pieces that are globally recognized, that are sought after. The key is to add to those and to fill out the menu and to add the additional pieces or the gaps or identify the opportunities that you can add to fill out the entertainment offering. So if today into the future, to become world-class, we discussed, it's going to take time, it's going to take planning. But there's no better time than now to start planning for the future. We need to develop a plan. We need to develop the opportunities and then move forward from there. And again, it does take time. We worked on a project it's called Sentosa in Singapore. And it was a 10-year project. We worked with the government, developed a series of potential opportunities that were lacking in the marketplace. 6 years later, we worked with a private developer called Genting, and we developed Universal Studios in Sentosa, which now is an anchor development, receives 9 million visitors a year, and that was the catalyst for creating the destination. Up until that point, Singapore wasn't an entertainment destination. Yes, it was a modern city that people visited, but it took 10 years. And after the anchor was there, then you add more entertainment. You can add a museum. You can add nighttime shows. So it evolves. It builds on itself. So to be globally competitive, how do we identify what we need to add to the already successful entertainment offerings that are here in Latin America and Mexico? There are 3 steps that we believe are successful in helping governments and commercial developments vision and plan for that long-term, that 10-year plan, that strategic planning. 1, identify new, and not only new, but quality entertainment that's needed in the marketplace. 2, develop critical success factors, keeping in mind the guest experience, how the guest moves through the place, how they experience it, what their takeaway or what their memory is of the place. And 3, thinking outside the box, thinking beyond the traditional. You need to do more than the status quo to exceed or be globally recognized. It's easy to match another place. Like Kidzania, you need to be innovative. You need to come up with new offerings. So how do we identify the new and the quality entertainment? It's more than just identifying it. It's making sure that it's quality. You don't want to add just for the sake of adding new pieces. You want to make sure that there's a need for it in the market, that the international guests will use it, that the locals will use it, The international visitors aren't always going to be here depending on the time of season. There's global economics that factor into it. There's global crises. So if you can ensure use by both the international community and the local, it's a better chance of being successful. There's two parts when it comes to identifying the opportunities or the gaps in the market. You have on a national level or a government level, and then in parallel, you have the private sector or the commercial developers. And they don't need to work together all the time. It's not a linear process. They can both move forward together and at different times and different speeds. To identify the gaps and these two entities working independently, we use a process called diagnostic gap analysis. So what it is, it assesses what's in the marketplace. You develop some big ideas, you define your priorities, you define your objectives. It's the start of the strategic plan. It's where you start from. It's first step. Why do we do it? You do it to ensure that what you're proposing is economically viable, is economically sustainable, that it's in line with your investor strategy. You do things financial modeling, scope of work, and you look at the financial projections over the long term. There's obviously going to be a high capital expenditure in the front, but you have to prorate that over the long term and see what your rate of return is to make sure that it's financially viable. Sometimes commercial developers skip this step, and they adopt the mentality of build it and they will come. And somebody needs to take that chance at some point. If you look at places like Atlantis in the Bahamas, when that project was first started, nobody thought it had a chance of being successful. And that was a developer that said, build it and people will come. And you look at it now, today, it's one of the most visited resort destinations in this part of the world and even globally. So government isn't going to take as many chances. Some private equity developers and commercial entities, they need to take a chance. How do you do it? Well, ultimately, you need to create the project and you need to test the results by planning, programming, detailed design, and ultimately to opening day. It's a process. It brings the ideas to the site. It tests it tangibly. If you have good visitation, the local residents, the international community, if they both like it, you've created a successful destination or experience for the guest. So how does the gap analysis work? I'm going to run through it in small steps to describe the overall process. The first step is you take a big macro view of the world and identify all of the entertainment offerings out there. It's a laundry list of everything. You then compare that with what you have locally. And this goes back to looking at it at a government level, a regional scale, and then a more localized scale from commercial developers. They'll have different perspectives on it. There are certain attractions people will travel further for. Destination theme parks people will fly to. Places like museums, aquariums, typically people will only drive an hour and a half to 2 hours. So you can have multiple aquariums around the region, but you can probably only have one or two true amusement or theme park destinations in Latin America, so they don't cannibalize each other and steal guests from one another. After you compare with what's in the existing marketplace, you're left with opportunities or gaps. program elements that you can add into the offering to help provide a more well-rounded menu and offer for the guest. After the research and the first 3 steps, you're then left with evaluating your findings, developing your objectives and your goals for the project. If it's a specific site, you can analyze regionally what that means. If it's for the government, it's a different set of goals and objectives. The last step is you take the overall long laundry list of opportunities and you narrow that down to about 10 options. You rank and you prioritize them based on your goals and objectives to determine the most opportune additions to the entertainment and leisure offering. Once you have your top 10 results, through that ranking and prioritization, you have to ask yourself, are these elements going to appeal to the international guest and the local residents equally? It's not all about the international tourist. You have to think about the locals. You want to ensure that the 10 that you've identified cater to the full market demographic, the full age demographic, and make sure that these are gaps in the market. From there, once you've identified your top 10 list of potential developments, we at Forec, what we use is we use a series of critical success factors, keeping in mind the guest experience. And this transcends most entertainment projects, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a theme park, whether it's a retail and mixed use, whether it's a water park. The guest is paramount. They're the most important person. They're spending the money. They're coming and making repeat visits. They're posting online blogs of their experience. It's not about what we as designers or investors want. It's about what the guest wants. And if you make them happy, you'll then have repeat visits, increased profits, increased returns. Here's a series of a few critical success factors. I'll run through a couple of examples, one example for each as we go through. And these are also a series of goals and objectives that you can identify on a project basis. Like I said, they're pretty essential for us in all entertainment development. Master planning mindset. Every project, large or small, needs a master plan. The key is connectivity with the master plan. You have individual business units that need to be connected. You want to create operational, financial efficiencies. Ensure the guests can easily connect from their hotel in the marina to the theme park, whether that's vehicular circulation, pedestrian circulation, monorail. Again, connectivity, integrated approach. A big idea. Every project needs a wow factor. It needs something to keep people engaged, to allow people to talk about your destination when they leave. It's a concept, but more than a concept, it's something that people will remember you by. This is an indoor water park in China. It was built after the Beijing Olympics, and it's in the swimming facility. And we developed a fantasy concept of an underwater world. And this is open, operational, and people remember it. It's unique, it's innovative, it's different. We at Forec, we look at something called a storyline-driven approach. So to develop a narrative, a creative process that you can tell the guest, or it's told through the design of the place. In this instance, this is a project in Korea. We developed a fable, a fairy tale based on Korean folklore and culture. They made books. we design the characters, and the story or the fable is told throughout the amusement park. It's something people remember. People take photographs with the characters. They're able to interact with the characters. They're able to buy the book at the retail store and take it away. They can buy the dolls. So it's a comprehensive experience based on local culture. This could easily be implemented in Mundo Mayo. You don't always have to replicate history. When you're entertaining people, people want to have fun. You have to allow your mind to imagine things. You have to you have to have a suspension of disbelief. When you enter these places, you have to allow your mind to wander. A storyline-driven approach gives us flexibility and latitude to create something that is truly regionally relevant, but also delivers on entertainment. A wide age demographic. We say 2 to 82. You need to entertain the little kids from age 2 to the grandparents at 82. It's not about the parents or the adults if they have fun. If the kids have fun and the grandparents have fun, the family has fun, and people will come back again and again and again. The parents just want everyone else to be happy, and then they're happy. So appealing to all age demographics. Enhancing the guest experience. This is providing entertainment activities for 365 days a year. Depending on the weather, depending on the location, can influence the design. This is a project in France, and obviously their weather is kind of inclement and not desirable in the winter. But in the summer, it's lovely, it's beautiful, people are outside. So this was a central entertainment hub, or core, if you will, and in it, theaters, water park, miniature golf, food and beverage. And in the summertime, it opens up to the outdoors. People can experience the larger resort grounds. There's hiking trails, biking trails, and you're connected to nature. In the winter, you can still utilize the central core and provide and deliver on the entertainment. So you're open 365 days a year. It helps to reduce your seasonality or flatline your seasonality, so your attendance doesn't do this, depending on the season. Also, you extend the offer. You provide more to do, a full menu. Excuse me. Cultural sensitivity, and this is paramount in creating successful destinations. And it's appealing, again, to the local residents. Your international tourist isn't going to know if your depiction of a Mayan ruin is right or not. The local residents will. So to appeal to them, you have to understand the intricacies of the market. You have to understand how the family operates, how they think, how they work, what their time frames are. I'll give you an example. Disney, when they first opened outside of Paris in Europe, they had a no alcohol policy anywhere in the park. And if you know the French, that's not going to fly. People won't accept it. And their numbers and their visitation was down because they didn't properly study the market and understand what people's expectations are. So cultural sensitivity and being aware of who you're catering to and what the local residents want. Creating an original theme. If you're a private, unbranded hotel or operation without a flag, there's still opportunity to create a unique story that's culturally relevant. This is a project in Thailand, and again, it was built on the local flora and fauna of the region, animals, elephants, tigers, and we created a brand or a marketing angle for the resort to differentiate itself from the others, neighbors that were next door. but it's locally relevant. It's not imported. It fits with the region. And that could easily be applied here. You take the Mundo Maya culture, and like we saw yesterday with Jose Cuervo, you integrate the entertainment with the region, and that theme or that ambiance is carried all the way through. The train is a perfect example. It's branded Jose Cuervo, and they've created their own brand, which is similar to this, Legoland. You partner with an intellectual property or a licensed brand. And this provides a point of differentiation from the culture, the history, and it provides the family with some choice. It provides them with a different experience, and it's definitely geared more towards the kids. But again, people can only see so many ruins, go to so many outdoor activities, and if you compile an overall menu of offer that's more extensive, it will be more successful. Thinking outside the box, taking design leaps. What does that actually mean? That entails taking a traditional project, thinking about it at the next level, how to conceptualize something that is above and beyond the status quo. We always try to exceed clients' expectations, try and deliver something more. Start with an idea and take it to the next level. I'm going to walk through a few design leaps that we have looked at over the years, and then on a couple occasions I will discuss how they might relate or how they could transfer that kind of concept to Latin America. The first project was a water park in Korea. And it starts off as a traditional water park, slides, rivers, and we tried to reinvent the water park, create a new experience for the guests. So when they came to this water park, it would be different from all the other water parks. The theme and the character, because it was in Korea, there was an affinity to Southwest United States, to the United States in general. So we used the Southwest, and we picked a time period of mid-century, 1960s. Traditionally, a water park, you start at the bottom, you climb up the stairs, and then you go down the slide. We flipped it upside down and inverted it, and started everybody at the top. And then the guest had the choice to go down one way or down the other way. This was the building block or the module. So you elevate the water, you integrate it with the terrain of the site, and create a unique experience. We then took that concept and married it with the growth of mid-century US, the highways, the off-ramps, the overall sense of place. And if you could imagine turning highways into rivers that kids or families can then go down. You can then be elevated, you can come down the off-ramp, and it's a multi-layer experience. There's opportunities with signage, obviously with landscape. We continued the theme and the concept to the uniforms of the employees. Designed the rafts to be modeled after cars from that time period. So really extending the theme all the way through the place, the uniforms, the experience. So it's comprehensive, all-inclusive. This is an indoor, well, this is an entertainment center, and this marries and brings the virtual world to reality. Online gaming, technology, it's everywhere. If you have teenagers, a lot of people just stay at home, they don't get outside, and they're just on the Xbox for hours. So we had a client who wanted to capitalize on that. And how do you take those people out of their home or out of their apartment and bring them into the real world? That was our challenge. We developed a concept of a building and a place that has thinking power, that reflects and expresses the people at home, online, and also interacts with the people in the space, live entertainment. And there was obviously a digital interaction, technological interaction, and the two could talk to each other. A series of working drawings and 3D models to develop, the concept. Again, these are big ideas, thinking outside the box, trying to think ahead of where the market is going. So the building, lots of energy, very interactive. It speaks to you, it talks, technology-driven solution. The interior of the building, very kinetic, showing connections between media, live people in the space, online people, performances. Now, if we suspend our disposition and take a momentary lapse of reason, if we were to think about this concept, you could have an interaction in Latin America, in this entertainment place, if you had live feeds from all of the cultural destinations. Maybe it's at the visitor center, not in the Mundo Maya or in the ruins, but in the visitor center, and an interaction from here, Guatemala, multiple sites in Mexico, and they all feed back to this place. You could show the different ceremonies from the different cultures of the Mayan culture, from the different regions. You could simulcast it, you could broadcast it. And likewise, you could have a feed coming back from the entertainment center to the cultural destination in the visitor center. So it's connectivity, but through technology. This is developing a big idea. This was a project in Dubai, outside of Dubai, and the client wanted to create an integrated destination. The problem was, it was outside Dubai. It was just a whole lot of sand. There was nothing unique about the site. So through discussions with the client, we started to draw upon some of the cultural history of Dubai. Dubai was a port town. It was on the trade route. It was a crossroads of culture. Everyone congregated, and the Bedouins came to Dubai. They traded cultures. Shipping was very big. So we built on that storyline and expressed that through a resort and put a large ship in the middle of the desert to create a site, to create a wow, to create a moment that people will remember. And you had all of the other traditional entertainment pieces, the beaches, the music, the festivals, the shows, the theme park, centered around this large ship. So as people would arrive, the question would obviously be, how did this boat or ship get to the middle of the desert? Again, it's entertaining people, it's making people think, still referencing the culture, but providing that added depth of creativity. Even within that, the local architecture was inspired by the Arabian souks, the indigenous architecture, and this was just a character view of what the retail, dining and entertainment area, the retail street might look like. Again, drawing in on the indigenous architecture, making the place feel like it's part of the region. So the takeaway, as you're driving away, it's, again, that moment. The family says, we had a wonderful experience. We still don't know how the ship got to the desert. If we were to take this concept and we were to think locally, and don't quote me on this, but just an idea, say we said Mayan culture evolved. Mayan culture persisted, it never ended. It kept going to today. The Spanish never came. So there would be a Mayan architecture of today. What would that look like? All we know is what it ended with the pyramids and the ruins. So we could develop a story that takes us from 14 or 1500 to today in a narrative? And what if we built a modern Mayan city in the middle of the jungle? It could be anything we want. Nobody can tell us we're wrong. It's our idea. We're building on culture, we're building on history, but creating something unique that hopefully appeals to locals and international guests alike. And again, the suspension of disbelief, entertaining people, allowing people to have fun, but also immersing them in the culture. This is the last example. This is a great example of marrying art, culture, and entertainment. It's a media attraction. It's in Wuhan, China. It's called Wanda Wuhan Movie Park, and it's a series of 6 movie attractions, all based on different regions of China, different cultural experiences, conveyed each it's a ride, and they're about 2 to 4 minutes each, set within an entertainment environment. There's retail, there's dining, and then obviously these 6 key attractions. This was the creative process of developing the storyboard, the script, so to speak, that was then turned into an animation or a film for one of the attractions. And it depicts a piece of art coming to life, and it highlights important symbols in Chinese culture. So you have the crane, which is a bird, the pagoda, which is a spiritual place, and then it references all of an area in southern China. It's called Shizajuan, I think, the landscape of the region. We used indigenous architecture, interior and exterior, to create the environment that you then walk through in the pre-show of the attraction. So before you get to the actual ride, you have a sense of the time period you're in, where you are, what it might look like. This is an animation or a walkthrough of the actual attraction, from getting in line, takes you all the way through the theming, setting you up for the ride, and then at the end, a quick view of the ride mechanism and the video screen behind. So that's just a quick snippet. The whole experience, waiting in line, the attraction is more of half hour, 45 minutes. But that is, after all of the research, after all of the design, we were able to create the 3D walkthrough. And the point, that last piece, if you continue to dream loudly, think big, develop a plan, develop a vision, these ideas can actually happen. The project opened in December 2014 to rave success in China, and it's definitely appealing to the local market. International guests are coming as well. It's set a new standard in China, but it references culture, it references art and history. So if you follow a strategic plan, follow a vision, you can make it happen. So just to summarize, I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts. If you're going to plan for the future, the time to start is now. There's no better time. You need to develop a strategy. You need to develop a vision. But just to recap, the 3 points that we talked about is identifying what you need to add for a well-rounded entertainment and tourism offering, and quality. Developing those critical success factors that ensure your guest is happy, to ensure your guest comes back. And then thinking outside the box, taking those design leaps, being brave, being bold, putting yourself ahead of the curve, not just meeting the status quo in the market. Hopefully some of that resonated with you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks for recognizing what we have in Mexico, especially in the case of Xcaret, what we have. I would love to invite you to visit Riviera Maya, which have so many attractions and so many things that it be growing. And I hope you stay for Hoya presentation, which is the Cirque du Soleil. And it's one of the new attractions that we have in the destination.
Yes.
But as well, we have one of the newest attractions that we have there is Xochimilco, which is a replica of one of the most traditional places that we have in Mexico City, in the central part of our country. And those are the type of things that you are talking about. And we feel proud about our culture and our country, our history, and I'm completely agree that we have to take advantage of that. So congratulations, you're doing an extraordinary job.
Gracias. ¿Puedo preguntar en español? Ok. En estos proyectos, ¿la inversión proviene principalmente, es capital privado o es del gobierno? Eso por un lado, y por otro lado, el tiempo de recuperación de un proyecto de esta grandeza, ¿aproximadamente de cuánto tiempo es?
Well, the first question about public and private, there's very few markets in the world that are only or where the private dictate everything, and that would be the more mature markets of the US and Europe. Everywhere else in the world, it's generally a partnership between government and private entity, whether you're in Asia, China, the Middle East, Latin America, South America. So the sliding scale of how much is public and how much is private, I'm not really qualified to answer that. The investment panel yesterday would probably be better. From my experience and our experience, the key is involving both the government and the private developer. And if they're both on the same page, then you can create a successful destination. Having said that, if you have some large equity investors that are willing to take a design leap and take a chance and have the financials to do that, I don't know many governments that are going to tell them not to. So it's matchmaking, the investor with the government and the vision and the strategy to make sure that what is envisioned to be implemented is in line with the government thinking and the government's vision. The second part, again, about the return on investment. We work with people that are smarter than us that can answer that question. We work with economics and feasibility people that they will do the pro forma for the return on investment. And we work hand in hand with them to phase projects So the CapEx cost is spent over, 5 years or 10 years. So there's not an initial outlay of the entire investment. So again, I apologize, that's not our area of expertise on how long it takes for the rate of return. I will tell you that traditionally, these items as standalone entertainment items, like a theme park, they don't make a lot of money. You need to pair the theme park, or you need to pair the anchor attraction with other entertainment offerings and with hotels, with retail, with commercial. Those make money. The theme park on itself, unless you're Legoland or Disney or Universal, yes, they're making money. But a non-branded park, you want to pair with other offerings that can return on your investment. So again, the connectivity, the integration of the destination as a whole that returns on your money, not the individual units. And I know that's a blanket statement, but from our experience, to creating a destination, that's the key. You can certainly have individual, smaller, standalone entertainment facilities. We highlighted a few in Mexico that are greatly successful. But when you think about it in the larger context, you want to combine your business units to create a strength through numbers.
Okay, so now I have a question. Well, first of all, I will say that, I'm really pleased with the presentation, and it was really wonderful. It opened my eyes in many ways, I must say. I was talking to my partners, and we're from a university nearby, Universidad Tecnológica de los Umacinta, located in Emiliano Zapata, Tabasco, here in this state. And I was speaking to them earlier about, right there, we don't have anything to, say, to call tourism, what I mean. We don't have any innovating things there. And I was wondering if we have the opportunity to have a water park or something related or something like that, but like you guys said, with cultural meaning, Mayan style kind of thing. I'm wondering if we have the opportunity here in the South.
Yeah, most definitely. Because of the climate, water parks are very appealing. You can get pretty much year-round use. And certainly you can integrate a Mayan culture into the water park experience. It's a sliding scale. So on the far right side, you have historical replication, which is measuring history, the ruins, and replicating it. And then on the left side, you have a level of fun where you take the culture and you take creative license and you change the proportion. You change visually what it looks like. You're still inspired by culture, but you change the finished product. And that adds the level of fantasy, that adds the level of fun. And with that, you can integrate educational pieces. There can be interactive pieces. You can do media through tunnels or caves. You can, just because it's a water park doesn't mean it has to be all water-based experiences. You can do things called a treasure hunt, and maybe you go through the Mayan world and you collect these artifacts, and they're sensors, and you have some type of wand, and you go through, and throughout the day, if you collect all 10 or all 12 historical artifacts, then you get a prize at the end when you leave. So there's different ways to integrate the culture, integrate the architecture, integrate the sense of place with the attractions. And that comes down to a conversation with the client, the operator. There's obviously budgetary implications. So it's certainly a great market for water parks. Again, I would just recommend you try and group it with something else. Group it with a resort. So if people are going to come for the water park, you then get them to stay for an extra night, and then they have dinner in the hotel. So instead of getting the family for one day and then they drive away, you get them for one night or a weekend, and you capitalize on that investment.
Hola. De igual forma, de felicitarle por la gran presentación que nos acaba de mostrar acerca de este tipo de destinos, ¿no? Entonces, aquí en México también nosotros contamos con muchos elementos que ayudan a las empresas del sector público y privado, pero sin embargo, a veces, a pesar de que el país cuenta con muchos recursos, no se tiene la clave o la integración de muchos elementos. Entonces yo quisiera saber cuáles serían esos puntos claves que usted podría, por ejemplo, recomendarnos para que una empresa o un destino pueda lograr ser tan exitoso como podrían ser los resorts. Porque, como le comento, aquí en México se cuenta con muchos recursos que pueden contribuir a que el país se dé un gran giro y se sobreexplote todo lo que existe aquí en nuestro país y darlo a conocer, así como mucha gente ya lo conoce y lo conoce a través de otros medios y viene aquí a México con tal de ver que sea tan cierto a cómo se describe. Entonces, no solamente que vengan y conozcan, que también disfruten y se lleven una gran experiencia de toda la tradición, cultura y costumbres que existen en nuestro país. Entonces, quisiera saber cuáles serían esos puntos claves que usted nos podría dar para que un destino como México o algún destino en especial, por ejemplo, pueda tener éxito aquí.
Good question. There's, back to part of the presentation, to properly identify what's needed, you need to start the process and to do the research and to analyze the market. I'm familiar with Mexico and Latin America, but I'll be completely honest, I don't know every attraction and entertainment destination here. So it would take a study to identify what's here. You cross-reference that with all of your options. And as we looked at before, you're left with the opportunities. So I would start there with identify your opportunities. What is not around you? You want to be different. You want to be unique. Once you identify your opportunities, there will be natural links of program elements that work together. There will be other program elements that don't work together. So when you're trying to create an overall resort destination, if you have your top 10 list, one of your criteria might be we need 3 or 4 entertainment elements to create a destination because we project to have 1.5 million people, and you go based on an occupancy of your destination. And if you have 1.5 million people, you need to keep those people entertained, you need to keep them busy. You go back to your opportunities list and you determine how many people you think those attractions can handle. And again, naturally, a water park and a resort go together. A resort and a theme park go together. A museum and a resort, not directly linked, maybe in the same development. If you were to have a museum next to one of your cultural attractions, and then down the road you had a commercial street, what we call a retail dining and entertainment street, you could put a hotel there. So I can't really tell you off the top of my head what's needed, but it would, if you were to undertake a study, the picture would be a lot clearer as to the opportunities and where you might start to consider additional programs.
Sí, buenas tardes. Bueno, después de escuchar su presentación, durante su presentación yo me preguntaba sobre el peso de de la conservación natural y el cuidado ambiental en este tipo de proyectos que suelen ser muy impresionantes, muy ambiciosos, algunos de ellos monumentales. Y lo pensaba sobre todo porque en Cancún, por ejemplo, que es el lugar en donde yo radico, que es un destino de clase mundial y que constantemente se está exigiendo a sí mismo innovar y ser cada día mejor y diversificar sus atractivos, de repente ha habido propuestas de hacer proyectos muy sofisticados, monumentales, cosas que se han hecho, por ejemplo, en Dubái, y se quieren repetir en Cancún, con la diferencia de que Cancún tiene un ecosistema sumamente frágil y, por ejemplo, he oído de hoteles que se quieren hacer en el mar, cerca de polígonos arrecifales muy vulnerables, muy delicados. Entonces, el argumento del empresariado o incluso de las autoridades para aprobar este tipo o impulsar este tipo de proyectos es que si en Dubái se puede hacer, pues ¿por qué no se puede hacer en Cancún sin contemplar este componente medioambiental? Mi pregunta sería, ¿qué habría que privilegiar en este tipo de casos? Sí, el atractivo creado, novedoso, deslumbrante, que va a diversificar, que puede potenciar ya la oferta turística de un destino, o el atractivo natural ya existente, que es el ancla o el alma de ese destino turístico, y que es base además de otros atractivos e incluso de formas de vida, ¿no?, de otros organismos y demás. Gracias.
Yeah, you're not alone in questioning the environmental impact on some of these projects. That would typically be something dealt with at a government level. And just because something is right for Dubai or Singapore or the United States doesn't mean it's right from Cancun or Latin America in general. That it relates back to at the national level, the government needs to develop an overall macro strategy. What do we want to be? What do we want to be known as? I have a saying, you can't be all things to all people. So Dubai went for the extravagant. They went for everything is bigger, grander, in their eyes, better. So for that market, that's the direction they chose to go. In Cancun, from a legislative stance or a government stance, if you wanted to go down the truly eco environment and LEED certified, environmentally friendly, that's a point of differentiation too. There's very few places in the world that have strict environmental policy, and you can still have entertainment that is environmentally responsible. It's two different approaches. And even in Cancun and Riviera Maya, you could potentially have both. You know, there are places in Cancun, I've been several times, that unfortunately the environment has already been taken over by us. We've already polluted it, we've destroyed it already. So my recommendation would be that's where you centralize your non-environmentally sensitive development. And then in the pristine landscape and in the countryside, you can offer a point of differentiation and develop environmentally sustainable resorts or environmentally sustainable attractions that are lighter on the land, that integrate with the site. So it's about creating a balance. You don't want to have, I don't think you want to have all environmentally sensitive projects or all projects that leave a large carbon footprint and disrespect the environment. But again, from government level, You want to have some buy-in and strategy developed at a macro level. And then that then feeds down to each of the states and each of the cities.
Muchas gracias, y con la intervención de Adriana Varillas, lamentablemente el tiempo ya se nos ha agotado para el espacio de preguntas y respuestas. Yo quiero agradecerle a Eric O'Rourke y a Ricardo Tonings por su participación muy interesante esta mañana. Nos ha abierto también una visión de posibilidades para nuestro país que tiene muchos elementos de cultura y de creatividad de los que puede echar mano para construir proyectos de este tipo. Muchas gracias, los despedimos con un muy fuerte aplauso. Y les pedimos a todos no moverse de sus asientos porque estamos listos ya para continuar con la presentación de Cirque du Soleil. Y también ya está con nosotros en el Salón Conjunto el director del Consejo de Promoción Turística de México para su presentación, con la cual cerraremos las actividades de este foro. De tal manera que de inmediato simplemente hacemos una adecuación del podium para que nuestro siguiente panelista pueda estar listo para entrar.